It truly is rare that a game comes along and just changes the entire gaming industry so quickly. While certainly not the first, nor the last of its kind, Dark Souls is somewhat of an enigma in the gaming space, a game that is seemingly so daunting and exclusive, yet so prevalent in gaming culture as a whole. I mean, for fuck's sake, nowadays game critics will just slap the Souls-like label on any game that includes hitting your enemy while trying not to get hit, including a game that has fucking guns.
The elevator pitch for Remnant is basically Dark Souls with a heavy focus on ranged, gun-based combat.
You know what? I think I see what they're talking about, yeah. This game also clearly draws inspiration from Dark Souls. This one is called Crab Game. Now, despite its apparent prevalence in the gaming industry, I never got into it. Many of my friends had played it and I'd heard much about it, but so much about what Dark Souls seemed to be really turned me off from the experience. From the outside looking in, it almost seemed as though Dark Souls was like an exclusive club for only the most greasy, elite, disgusting gamers. And if you weren't prepared to sacrifice your newborn child to Miyazaki himself, you just weren't gonna cut it. Not to mention, with so many games, it felt like choosing what fucking game to play first was harder than the actual games. I mean, do I start with Demon's Souls? I mean, it's really fucking old, and I kinda wanted to play Dark Souls, not whatever this shit is. Do I start with the OG Dark Souls? Well, maybe, but people really seem to think the third game is the best, so what about starting with 3? Yeah, but then I'd be missing out on the first two, and that's just kind of a weird place to start. Oh, yeah, 2. Dark Souls 2. Hey, I wonder why so many people seem to hate that one. I mean, it looks fucking identical to the other ones, so it couldn't be that bad. Or hell, why not Bloodborne? Okay, just kidding. Let me tell you why not fucking Bloodborne. Because, 1, I don't own a fucking PS4, and even if I did, who the shit wants to play this at 30 FPS? Okay, well, what about Sekiro? That, Jesus-looking motherfucker sure seems to like it.
Oh!
Ah, fuck, whatever. I give up. Time to go back to playing Siege, I guess.
You just jumped in piano, I think. There's no... Oh, because it's Blackbeard! What a fucking shit operator.
One friendly remaining. One op 4 remaining.
On the bomb. Shorty.
Bunker. Behind the half wall. Behind the half wall still.
Half wall.
Half wall, bro. Half wall.
Half wall!
Bunker. I'm hit.
Oh, man,
All friendlies were eliminated.
Half
Mission
wall.
failure.
I know he was half wall. I know he was half wall.
That's
Half
behind the
wall.
half wall.
Half wall.
bro. Half wall.
Half wall!
I know he was half wall.
Bunker. I'm hit.
Fuck, I hit him
All
in the neck.
friendlies
I hit
were
him in the
eliminated.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe not, actually. Perhaps fucking not. And just as all had seemed hopeless, it finally happened. Elden Ring was released. Now, I will not lie, I was initially put off by this title because, from an outsider's perspective, this looked like the exact same fucking game these bastards have been releasing for 13 years. And can you blame me? I mean, for somebody who hasn't played the games, if you had showed me Elden Ring footage and been like, yeah, this is actually a modded Dark Souls 2 with updated textures, I'd be like, yep, that sure is. I mean, it's not as though the textures have really gotten much better, to be fair. Anyways, I was initially going to skip the game, but after glowing recommendations from my friends, I decided to see what this game was really about, and, holy shit. Elden Ring is one of the greatest games I've played in my entire life. While I didn't record my playthrough and thus didn't make a video on it, my time playing this game never felt like time wasted. I poured days, weeks into this game. This was the first game since Valheim's release last year where I really actually wanted to play the game. Releases have been so fucking boring lately. Everything is either the same copy-pasted Ubisoft shovelware or like actually broken garbage. That would be even fucking worse if it wasn't broken, because at least when it's broken you can laugh at it. I'm not kidding when I say that during my time playing Elden Ring, I forgot all about my real-life problems and underwent a severe and continuous increase of clinical happiness in my body. Serotonin flushed my systems and I felt like I was fucking jacked into the game. The moment I knew I loved this game was when I spent 4 hours trying to beat the Tree Sentinel out the gate with starting gear at level 1 on a mouse and keyboard. I will never forget how awesome it felt to finally see that bastard fall at 2 AM and drop a weapon I can't even fucking use. Hell yeah. But this video isn't about Elden Ring. I merely wanted to tell you guys my initial entrance into the Soulsborne games. For me, that entrance was Elden Ring. And after finally beating the game 80 some odd hours later, I wanted, nay, hungered for more. And I decided what better place than where it all started. No, the other one. Dark Souls. Now, allow me to lay out this video. Now that this gay little introduction part is finished, this video will be broken up into 3 parts. First, I will sort of walk us through the game. I've recorded basically my entire playthrough, and we'll talk about some of the highlights as we go along. After that, I will go more in depth on some of the aspects of the game, talk about what I liked, what I didn't, what could be improved, this fucking abomination, etc. Finally, the video will end with my closing thoughts on the game and my experiences within it. So sit down, strap in, and get ready, because it's gonna be a long one. Now, as with practically any other RPG, Dark Souls starts with a rather humble character creator. Now, unfortunately, there's no revolutionary face scanning technology to create a character that looks just like you in real life. Instead, all we have is whatever this is. Anyways, you choose your starting class first, which really doesn't affect you that much apart from what stats you start off with. Where you go from there, though, is up to you, so you can really change into any class you'd like. Either way, you do get some good starters here, like Basic Bitch, Outcast Loser, Complete Pussy, and Average Ram Ranch Enthusiast. I went with the Basic Bitch because I am one. You choose some more useless bullshit until the game finally lets you enter a name, which is a huge mistake, by the way, and the real game can begin.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath, the Scaleless, betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
Okay. Anyways, game begins and we're stuck in fucking prison again. God damn it. Old Todd must have had something to do with this. Anyways, some random prick drops us a key out of our cell and, what the shit is this UI? Jesus Christ, Miyazaki, you'll fucking kill someone! God. Anyways, I beat up on some low-ranking citizens and get thrust into my very first boss fight. It, didn't go so well. I figured out I was actually supposed to run past a fat ass through a gate since I can't fight him yet. Sorry, guys. What can I say? Being a pussy is just not in my veins. What? Hey! Get that fucking clip off the screen! Traversing the asylum is easy enough as we finally reach another person to talk to. He dies and gives us our flask of Sunny D, which allows us to regain health. Very useful. Anyways, now that I'm not swinging around a glorified toothpick, I kill the asylum demon and advance past the asylum, where I get Five Nights at Freddy's jump scared by a big-ass bird that takes me past the tutorial to the true first area of the game, Firelink Shrine. It's here that we meet the most passive-aggressive dickweed in video game history, as well as a guy that I'm pretty sure would roll if he fell over. I get ganked by the most obvious beginner's trap and head off for the next area, Undead Burg. Now, all that we know for now from the first two NPCs that we've spoken to are that we are an undead, possibly the chosen undead, and our mission for now is to ring the 2 great bells of awakening. One such bell is atop a nearby church, and the other within the depths of hell, right up Satan's dickhole. In order to reach the first bell, I must make it through Undead Burg and the areas which follow it. As the first area with actual combat in the game, Undead Burg makes a couple of things very clear to me off the bat. This is not Elden Ring. Unlike Elden Ring, Dark Souls isn't a truly open-world game. You can choose where you'd like to go to an extent, but for the most part, Dark Souls is more so an interconnected series of linear paths rather than a true open world. This approach has both pros and cons, but I'll deal more with that in the next section of my video. For now, I continue forth unto the first true boss fight. Taurus Demon. Now, I won't lie, I died once or twice, but the big cow had to die someday, and die he did. Afterwards, I meet the homie Solaire, get repeatedly skull-fucked by a dragon, come up with a flawless plan to get past the dragon, and engage in a true battle against nature's greatest force. A fucking pig. I continue forth, meet some unimportant losers, die a couple times, take out a small family of 30, and reach what would have been a difficult boss fight against the gargoyles. If I didn't have my boy! Hell yeah! If nobody's got me, I know Solaire got me. Anyways, I finally ring the first great bell of awakening, slyly thinking to myself, God damn, I mean, I'm already halfway done. Oh no. If only I had known how desperate things truly were. Either way, I return to Firelink, run past the Angry Bones, pick up a big fucking sword, and waste my time getting gang raped in the catacombs until my trusty friend TJ calls me an idiot. The next order of business would be the Darkroot Gardens, home of the most boring boss fight known to man. Literally, just sit there for 38 dick-stretching minutes while this flying cum guzzler shoots magic bullshit at you. Wait for it to land, then send it back to hell. How engaging. I mean, seriously, the only difficult part of that boss fight was staving off my boredom long enough to stay awake to finish it. Oh, and by the way, off-screen I got a Firekeeper soul, which said that it would increase the effectiveness of my Estus. I mean, I didn't see any way to use it at the bonfire, so I had just assumed the big fucking button that says use would be the right thing to press. Well, fuck me, cause no! Apparently, I just permanently wasted a non-respawning item for an absolutely shit temporary buff because the game doesn't explain to you at all how the shit to even play it. Thank you, Dark Souls! What follows, however, is the single most mentally agonizing experience of my entire fucking life so far. And that is the motherfucking Capra Demon. Okay, listen to me. A formidable foe on his own, for sure, but it's really all the auxiliary bullshit which surrounds this boss that makes this an absolutely nightmarish experience. So let me break this down. The closest bonfire to the Capra Demon is an undead bird, right here. The fastest route down to the boss is past these hollowed warriors, down the stairs, past the dogs, through the assassins, and finally past the dogs plus assassins combo party pack in this constricted ass alleyway. After going through all that shit, you can finally attempt this gank ass boss fight where you fight in an arena flatter than your girlfriend and smaller than a gnat's dick, in which you have to fight not one, but 2 dogs in addition to, oh, well, you know, the actual fucking boss? I swear to God, the amount of times I've run this gauntlet, I should get an actual fucking award. The only way I managed to beat it was narrowly avoiding the enemies on the way here, and then immediately running up the stairs in the arena, kill the dogs, and jump on the Capra Demon until his health is reduced to 0. After which, I immediately died to all the enemies I had avoided, which still had aggro on me. Well, 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 if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. Either way, fuck this thing. After that, I go spelunking through the sewers. Boring. I met probably the most huggable enemy in a while, though. I succumb to his dastardly ways until I figure out the strategy of just literally walking away until he decides to do absolutely nothing and allow me to hit him. How nice of him. Then, off-screen, disaster strikes. I don't have footage, but listen to me. I was violently attacked by a fucking frog and got cursed. Which, for you non-Souls players out there, means that my HP is permanently halved until I rid myself of the curse. Which is easier said than done, might I add. I have 2 options. Fight through this lame-ass haunted house, or just pay 1 trillion souls to some skeleton bitch. After this kind of bullshit happens... Top 10 horrors of all time.
It's time.
New Londo?
No, Alina, it's time for New Londo.
What?! What the fuck?!
It's not time for that. It's not time for that.
Done, bro. You gotta be shitting me, bro.
You know what you gotta do instead?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go pay for the stone, but thanks for the offer. But isn't that really just the beauty of Dark Souls? One moment you think all is well, just fighting an enemy in the sewers, you think to yourself, and in the span of 15 seconds you're robbed of not only your life, not only your souls, but also half of your HP bar to what is a literal unblockable insta-kill attack. Just fucking incredible.
Wow.
After that, though, it's Blighttown time. Now, as amazing as a place with the name Blighttown sounds, it's actually not that great. Yeah, you know, the real estate prices have really dropped ever since the fire-breathing demon dogs moved in, along with whatever the fuck these are meant to be. I flounder around until I reach Miyazaki's fever dream where I face off against big assholes throwing meatballs at me in what is frankly impeccable form. Past that, I find these jolly old fellows. Must be Welsh. Either way, past here is a boss fight against Spider Bitch. All things considered, it wasn't that hard, although getting body blocked and stuck in this pool of molten Jolly Ranchers didn't bode too well for my health bar. Past the boss are some more fucking weirdos in the second Great Bell of Awakening. I ring the bell and prepare for the journey ahead. Back at Firelink, I find the Firekeeper murdered, the sarcastic loser complaining, and this big fucking weirdo where the water used to be. He explains himself to be King Seeker Frampt, in search of the chosen undead who should succeed Lord Gwyn. After the ringing of the 2 bells of awakening, I apparently am this chosen undead. In order to fulfill my fate, however, I must first retrieve the Lord Vessel in Anor Londo. In order to get to Anor Londo, I have to make it through Sen's Fortress. Sen's Fortress. Okay. Okay, Okay. Sen's Fortress and its consequences have been a fucking disaster for the human race. Every room is filled with these snake dickbags and more traps than a conservative's porn history. I mean it when I say with only one fucking bonfire in the entire area, Sen's Fortress is a genuine shitfest that is actually incredibly difficult to get through. The balls are opening a path. Follow the balls.
Go down. Go down.
Wait. No. No. No, it was a trap! It was a trap!
Owen?
Oh my god. Go, 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 go.
No!
No, please! Accordingly, the boss fight is the easiest shit I've ever done in a video game. Once the fat ass is felled though, shit gets real. I'm scooped up by some gropey lightning demons and sent to the City of Eternal Sunset, Anor Londo. Now, I know I've had a ton of sarcastic asshole shit to say in this video, but this section of the game is genuinely beautiful. Not only in its aesthetic, but also in its design. Anor Londo is not only a beautiful setting, but the gameplay found here is actually really fun. Initially, I face off against some big fuck-off knight type of dudes and find a new bonfire. I think I'm gonna be returning here often. Down the elevator, I face off against a gargoyle and get incredibly confused as to where the shit I'm supposed to go. I unironically have to look up a walkthrough online to find out I'm supposed to climb up this thing and through a window on the side of the building. I mean, hey, listen, it's not my fault, okay? It's not exactly like there's a fucking sign. Inside the building, though, I face off against some Assassin's Creed Templars whilst trying my best not to fall from the rafters. I do not succeed. After killing yet another gargoyle, I access the middle platform, which now allows me to travel to a multitude of places in Anor Londo. At the bottom of the earlier building, I kill a bunch more of these enemies and claim myself a new set of black iron armor, which, of course, I cannot wear because equip load in this game was balanced by a team of fucking lemons. Either way, I get my ass kicked until I don't, and I approach what is perhaps one of the most infamous sections in the entire series, the Silver Knight Archers. Now listen, I've heard about this shit, okay? So I'm not just gonna run in there, you know what I mean? I'm gonna come into this situation with the greatest tool I have, knowledge. To do so, let's read the Steam reviews. Alright, let's see here. Oh, here we go. Remember, always kill the left Silver Knight Archer first. I mean, I trust this guy.
So that was a fucking lie.
Alright, for real though, this section really pissed me off. Every time I die, I go all the way back to this bonfire, which requires me to run past 2 big boys, 3 of the lightning demon assholes, and 2 additional lightning pricks on either side ready to jump me for my lunch money. And then dodge and weave through arrow fire, at which point I have 2 options. Death, or probably death. After choosing probably death enough times to win, I advance into the central building at long last. Inside, I hook back up with the homie Solaire, who's in a real flirty mood.
You really are fond of chatting with me, aren't you? If I didn't know better, I'd think you had feelings for me. Oh no, dear me, pretend you didn't hear that.
Inside this area though, the main enemies are the Silver Knights, which are fairly difficult yet ultimately fun, because if you're good at parrying, the mechanics aren't unfair in the slightest. Wow, what a concept! Difficult enemy design that isn't difficult because of unfair horse shit, but because of well-designed mechanics? I sure hope that continues for the rest of the game. Immediately after this, I face off against what must be the most difficult enemy encounter ever created with this goddamn Titanite demon in this small-ass room. I don't know what it is with FromSoft and putting these huge-ass enemies in these embarrassing rooms, but it's getting kinda old, you know? I mean, there is literally nowhere in or even out of the room that I can stand in which I cannot get hit. Additionally, even the simple act of moving is blocked by these fucking church pews or whatever some minimum wage schmuck just copy-pasted everywhere like a goddamn animal. Either way, I accept defeat and venture forth into the next room. Oh, okay, yes, so they heal now. Okay, yeah. I find a giant blacksmith with whom I upgrade my Zweihander with lightning. Oh, okay, well that's great. I sure hope I won't regret that. I mean, it would be like really fucking annoying if there were like some major boss or something up ahead that is actually resistant to the lightning. I mean, that would be like super dumb. Like I would be angry if that happened, you know, hypothetically speaking. Uh-oh. Alright, boys and girls, we finally made it. The titular boss of Dark Souls. Ornstein and Smough. Smosh, I don't know. Ornstein and Smough, I think that's how you say it, is a boss fight that is equal parts brilliant and bullshit. By which I mean it's an amazing boss, I just got really pissed off while fighting it. And while I would normally save the analysis for part 2, I want to kind of go into why this boss is so good, as well as a couple of gripes I have with it. Now the fight features two main enemies, Dragon Slayer Ornstein and Executioner Smough. Now unlike most duo gank fights, this battle is actually well designed to the effect that the bosses are of differing speeds and attack at alternate tempos. Ornstein being the quick and nimble combatant and Smough being a consistent fucking nuisance. This is how the boss is supposed to play, with you taking advantage of the altering speeds and tempos and separating the two using the pillars, allowing you to more easily focus on one or the other. Now this is usually the case, however sometimes the two become fucking inseparable, with Smough running at you ready to pummel you into the asphalt and Ornstein up his ass like Smough's personal butt plug. Your only hope of survival is to spam roll and pray to Jesus. Most of the time, however, the boss's design does work pretty well. Either way, the fight is split into two parts. The first part has you managing the both of them, carefully timing attacks and dodges as you whittle one of their health bars away. After one is killed, the remaining combatant absorbs the soul of the other and becomes a super-powered version of themselves. In this way, the boss fight is extremely dynamic and can change depending on your choices within it, which is excellent game design. Now, I will not lie, as the first true test of boss fighting skill in this game, I got my ass kicked repeatedly, more so than any other boss in this game by a country mile, and I'm sure as hell not the only one who had this experience. This being the case, one may feel compelled to research strategies on the internet, but remember, we are dealing with a deceptive community full of liars and double agents, secretly working for Miyazaki and his dastardly plans of inflicting as much torment as is legally possible upon his fanbase. The internet would tell you to focus Ornstein first and fight Super Smough later. But once again, do not be fooled. This is a complete and utter deception, because killing Ornstein first is next to fucking impossible. Now, one might think that Smough would have more health considering he's shaped like a fucking aqueduct, but apparently not, okay? It seems as though Smough takes way more damage than Ornstein and is killed far easier. And I don't really know why, honestly. Maybe it has something to do with my build, but I find that unlikely considering I did unupgrade my Zweihander back from lightning because Ornstein is basically immune to it, meaning that my Zweihander was back to doing pure physical damage. Whatever the case, after employing my strategy of stripping down to only the essentials, marking Smough, and then weaving through Super Ornstein's legs, I was able to bring them down in a flurry of emotions that was powerful enough to cure my erectile dysfunction.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
I hate this fucking game, dude. Oh my god. A success not only for me, not only for all of Lordran, but for your mother as well. Thanks, Ornstein and Smough. Past that, though, I encounter what I can only assume is cleverly implemented Rule 34 bait who gives us the Lord Vessel, an ancient device of soul, fire, power, shit, I don't fucking know. The lore in this game is almost as confusing as FNAF's. Almost. I mean, not really, actually, it's a lot less confusing. Either way, with the Lord Vessel in hand, I now have the ability to fast travel. Oh, thank God! I can finally... Wait, where are all the options? That's it? That's all you get? Jesus with this game, man! It's like you take 2 steps forward and it knocks you down a fucking cliff. Speaking of cliffs, I return to Firelink and get eaten alive by Frampt. No, but really, Frampt brings us to the door leading to the Kiln of the First Flame, the sacred place wherein Gwyn resides. In order to open the door and fulfill my destiny, I must attain 4 Lord Souls from 4 bosses and bring them here. Okay, sounds easy enough. The truth, of course, being that I was about to embark on a journey, from which no joy should be felt, and my sanity senselessly stripped from whence it stood, and in its stead replaced by an overwhelming sense of all-encompassing sorrow. Listen, what I'm trying to say is that I went to New Londo first. Now, some of you may remember my experiences here earlier, but now, armed with a new and improved dinky axe that looks like it was from fucking Spirit Halloween, I'm ready to take on these spectral dicksuckers. Honestly though, the ghosts aren't the real problem. Yes, I have to use a transient curse to attack them, but they're hilariously weak. What is a shame, however, is the final boss of this area, the Four Kings. Or the 6 Kings, I don't know. Now, in order to get through this boss fight, one must make it through all of New Londo without any sort of bonfire nearby, and then drop into this pit that leads to the Abyss. However, to traverse the Abyss, one must get the Abyss Walker's Ring. And for all my fellow Souls players, you unfortunately know what I must do. You dumb bitch, dog! What an easy boss fight! What, you thought I was gonna be all sad because poor old Sif doesn't want us to end up like his master? Well, guess what? I don't give a shit! So here you go, Sif. Come here, buddy. Hold this from me. You don't need those legs no more. Okay. Damn, sorry. Okay, fuck. I promise, I'm not actually a psychopath. It's just a joke, okay? Just a joke. On a real note, though, the Sif fight is very fun mechanically, and the entire lore around it is both sad and interesting. The music is as graceful as the great wolf which it celebrates. Rest in peace, Sif. The boss fight that follows, however, represents a drastic shift in quality, to the extent that I genuinely think it might be one of the most awfully designed boss fights I've ever played, and is easily the worst in the entire game. Yeah, that's right, worse than Bed of Chaos. I'm talking, of course, about the Four Kings. Now, my main problem with the Four Kings is that this boss fight can only ever be one of two things, either absurdly easy or genuinely impossible. Let me explain why. The Four Kings is nothing but a DPS race. Most of their attacks do little to no damage and are either easily avoidable or just straight up tankable. Not to mention, the way the fight works is that it's on a timer, and after a certain interval, another king spawns. Meaning that if you don't kill the last king quickly enough, you'll end up having to deal with multiple at the same time, which will almost assuredly end in your death. As a result, and I shit you not, the best strategy for beating this boss is literally just to stand there and press left click until they die. Wow, amazing. However, sometimes it isn't so simple, because if the kings decide to spam either their fucking undodgeable grab or that one-shot explosion, there is no way you can win, because even if you don't die, the attacks will have wasted so much time that you end up having to fight all four at the same time, which, it's not gonna go in your favor. So essentially, this boss fight is nothing but an RNG slot machine wherein you stand there, press left click, and simply hope they decide to not either grab you or explode. If they do decide to grab you or explode too often, you lose. If they don't, you win. That's it. Oh, and as a little fucking bonus, like a little treat from the development team, every single time that you die, you have to run all the way back from Firelink. I'm not even shitting you when I say that there must be straight up like 3 to 5 minutes of downtime between attempts, wherein you have to dodge and weave past enemies you can't even attack. I mean, genuinely, what an amazing experience. After that, though, I decided to go after the Bed of Chaos, which required I go through the Demon Ruins. The ruins themselves were pretty dope with some cool enemies that are just weaker versions of earlier bosses. After getting past the reskinned Asylum Demon and fighting yet another shit-tier boss, I make it to Lost Izalith. This place, it kinda fucking sucks. Yeah, it kinda sucks. And is obviously unfinished. Nevertheless, making it through Lost Izalith leads you to perhaps the most notorious Dark Souls boss of all time, the dreaded Bed of Chaos. Now, the geniuses over at FromSoft were really racking their brain for this one. What's easily the worst part about this game? Oh, probably the parkour mechanics. Yeah, those fucking suck. I mean, have you seen the jump? Right, well, that gives me a wonderful idea. How about we, design a boss around that, and if you fuck up even once, you instantly die and have to run all the way back every single time. Huh? Great idea, John. Seriously though, this boss fight is so bad, I didn't even get angry. Like, it was just genuinely funny to me that FromSoft seriously put this in the game as like a serious thing. I mean, this is not a joke. It's so bad that Miyazaki fucking apologized. That's right, he said he was sorry! I mean, after everything that this man has pulled, I don't believe he has said sorry before or since. so you know this shit sucks. Silver lining though is that the progress saves in between attempts, so just hit his sides each once, then run down the middle and give that motherfucker what for. Yeah, give him what the Merry Christmas! Next on the hit list would be the Lord Soul from Seath of Scalus. Now this area is actually one of my favorites in the whole game. It really just... Alright, but seriously though, the Duke's Archives is a really cool area with interesting enemies and series of events. After making it past the first area, I'm presented with what appears to be the fight with Seath. Well, that was fucking quick, but it wasn't to be, as this first fight is a scripted loss, as Seath is invincible. After getting shit on, I wake up in a cell and make my escape. Fighting through the next areas is easy enough until I escape the structure and things start to get a lot less fun. The Crystal Caves. Now, everything up to this point in the area was well designed and interesting, then the game just shits you into this mess and says, well, good luck. The Crystal Caves do look cool, right? But the gameplay is a fucking disaster. You have to navigate these narrow-ass walkways and literal invisible platforms just to get knocked off by some dickweed or fall through a platform because, oh, well, you know, it's fucking invisible. And once again, with every single death comes the inevitable run back all the way there. Every time. I mean, Jesus Christ with this game, man. It's like, why stop there? Hell, every time you die, the game should just uninstall itself from your computer, delete everything from your hard drive, rob you of like 20 bucks, smack you in the dick, and then somehow digitally return itself without a refund. No half measures, just go all the way. Anyways, if you can brave the heights, you inevitably reach the actual fight with Seath, where you crack the Chaos Emerald which made him invincible, and engage in a boss fight that was cool but ultimately very easy. With Seath dead, there remains only one Lord Soul, the soul of Gravelord Nito. Now, I had dipped my toes into the catacombs earlier in my run if you can recall, but I've come back with a purpose. After running through the same old areas, I reached the boss of the catacombs, motherfucking Pinwheel. Now, when I say that this is the hardest boss in gaming history, I am telling you that this man right here, this is the ultimate gatekeeper, the apotheosis of difficulty and hardship, and he will resize your Wait, that's it? He died in like 3 fucking hits. Well, that's all, folks. Oh no, it's a cursed run. Gotta restart. The next section is known as the Tomb of the Giants. Now, I had seen everyone online shit their pants about this area, but honestly, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't good, but I kind of feel like people over-exaggerate how bad this area is. Only a little. Although we do meet our good friend Patches here. Either way, the skeleton dogs were definitely unnecessary, okay? I can deal with the mongrel dogs, I can deal with the demon dogs, depression dogs, but skeleton dogs? Come on, Miyazaki, that's just crossing the line. Further through the tomb, I get epically pranked by the devs, dispatch a whole family of pinwheels, and finally engage in a battle for the ages against Nito. Honestly, it was kind of a fun fight, although, again, a bit easy. Nito has only one attack that might actually kill you, and that's where he summons a sword up your ass. His other attacks are either hilariously long and slow, or they just straight up kill his skeleton heads. Although I will say, the skeletons almost did kill me when I got cornered, and they really pile up since they don't actually die, they only get knocked down. Overall though, you know, fun boss. I guess you could say the fight with Nito is Nito. Yes, thank you everybody. And now, with the 4 Lord Souls, it's time I commit a cardinal sin. I admit I didn't play the DLC. Now, I had heard that the DLC for this game is very good, and you know, you even get to fight Artorias, Sif's master, but I really just wanted to get this video out as quickly as I could. I will likely replay this game someday and play the DLC, but that day is not now. Oh, and I skipped Ashlight, cause who gives a shit? Before facing Gwyn though, I had to tie up some loose ends. My dearest friend and my most trusted ally, Solaire, had lost his way. I found him groveling in Lost Izalith, confused and upset at the world. Why couldn't he just find his radiant sun? Further down, past another nigh-invincible Titanite demon, we find Solaire, unmasked and mentally disfigured, drowning in anguish. He had lost his mind and went hollow. I tried to reason with him, but reason had left his mind long ago. I put him out of his misery and claimed his shield as a remembrance of his glory and our kinship. May you find your radiant sun, old friend. If not in this life, then in the next. As I bring back the Lord Souls to the Lord Vessel, the door to the Kiln of the First Flame is opened. I pass through the barrier and arrive at the final area of the game. This area is filled with Black Knights and their associated loot, prompting a complete change in my character through hours of grinding, resulting in a fit worthy of a lord at the very end of the game. Fuck. Either way, I take out Gwyn's mighty knights which stand in my way, and advance through the fog, to meet my destiny. Gwyn! Destiny has come! Bow before the new oh, shit, fuck. Damn it, man. Just hold on a second, okay? Okay, let's try that again. Damn it, man. Parry, dude. What the fuck? What the hell are you doing? God damn, this old man can fucking swing. On a real note, though, this is an amazing final boss. For starters, the soundtrack is amazing, but you already knew that. The genius of this boss, however, is the simplicity of his design. The fight itself, mechanically speaking, is very easy. Or it would be if I wasn't fucking dog shit. Either way, the boss is completely fair. He's definitely very fast, but he doesn't do anything crazy. He doesn't, like, fly into the sky and become a dragon or drop a fucking nuke. He's just a broken man with a flaming sword, protecting what little he has left. Speaking of, the lore around this is actually really cool. Now, I'm definitely not no lore expert, but from what I know, Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight, aided in the defeat of the dragons ages ago and ushered in the Age of Fire. Now, with the dwindling of the flame and the upcoming Age of Darkness, the Age of Men, Gwyn is a broken man, a shadow of his former self. No longer the Lord of Sunlight, but merely the Lord of a Cinder, giving all he has left to protect the flame. In that sense, this boss fight is really a tragic one, and after a couple of well-timed parries, Gwyn falls, and the prophecy is complete. Ultimately, there are one of two options before me. Link the flame and prolong the Age of Fire, or leave the kiln as it is. Let the fire fade and usher in the Age of Dark. I ultimately choose to link the flame because, well, you know, fire is cool. And as I give my body and soul up to the flame, the title card appears, along with the track entitled Nameless Song. And wow, what a beautiful game. Alright, boys and girls, you've officially made it to part 2. Now that I've given a rough overview of the game, I'd like to take a couple of minutes here and quickly break down and analyze a couple elements of the game and ultimately sum up my experience with it. Without further ado, let us start with the good. Now, obviously, being a Dark Souls game, Dark Souls, I mean, what can I say? It has great combat, generally. I'll talk about what few negatives I have about it in my next section, but for the most part, combat is engaging, dynamic, and absolutely rewarding. This sort of rock, paper, scissors flow of combat is immediately intuitive to anyone with a fucking brain, and although it's easy to pick up, it's difficult to master. The combat in this game definitely differs from Elden Ring though, as it takes a far more grounded approach with less emphasis on dodge rolling and jumping, and far more on blocking and parrying. Another great thing about this game is the level design. Generally, the environments are beautiful with interesting enemies and cool loot to find everywhere. Even in the shittiest areas of the game, you can't help but admire the sheer beauty that the devs were able to craft in damn near every frame of this game. And Orlando specifically is an instant classic. Additionally, the soundtrack, the story, the lore, the atmosphere, and all else in the vein of aesthetic is marvelous. I don't believe I've ever played a game with such unique and perfect aesthetic before. A game like this could have easily had some generic fantasy bullshit, but this game pushes the mold and weaves its own unique identity into every encounter. Boss and enemy design too is mastered here, and despite the fact that many of the bosses are fairly easy and many of the enemies are fairly bullshit, as a collective, FromSoft has really put other studios to shame here by consistently offering new and interesting challenges to take on. For these reasons, and so many more, Dark Souls is a masterpiece. However, the game is not perfect. I know, sorry Souls fans, but I do believe that this is not a perfect game. In fact, I think it has many glaring issues that do take away from the experience somewhat. To start, I'd like to link back to my original comment I made earlier about the combat. The combat is great, don't get me wrong, but there is a strange clunkiness to everything your character does. Now, some people might say, well, it's an old game, and so that excuses the clunkiness, but I personally think that's horseshit. Video game age has never been a solid metric when evaluating things like smoothness of gameplay. Sure, if I was shitting on the graphical fidelity or complaining, why doesn't the game's map extend the fucking space? Then yeah, you could cite the age as an excuse, but for clunkiness? Nah, man, not at all. I mean, look at Super Mario 64, one of the most popular speedrunning games of all time. You know why Mario 64 is still so popular among runners today? It's because it's one of the smoothest, consistent, and intuitive games in terms of control to date. In other words, it ain't clunky, and it's a whole hell of a lot older than Dark Souls. Overall, the combat is great, but there is an undeniable clunkiness. Additionally, I praise the level design, but one thing really consistently pissed me off throughout the entire game, game, and that is the incredible lack of bonfires. For those unaware, bonfires act as save and spawn points, so if you die, you respawn there. And this game is so incredibly stingy with these spawn points. I mean, certain areas like New Londo literally just straight up don't have any bonfires at all, meaning that the amount of backtracking in this game can reach absolutely ridiculous levels. This is further compounded by the lack of fast travel until you get the Lord Vessel, and even then, you can only travel to certain bonfires. And by that, I mean like literally 10 in the whole game. Like, I mean, that's just ridiculous. I've seen people try and make excuses saying shit like, oh, it makes the world feel more connected and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And while that may be true, there's a difference between limiting player movement to an extent, forcing them to connect with the world, and actually like fucking crippling them and making them replay the same part of the game 60 times over. I'm sorry, but this is crystal clear textbook padding for time because they couldn't finish the game completely. I know it. You know it. If even 50% of the backtracking in this game was cut out, it would actually be like half as long as it currently is, which would still be a decent offering, but the amount of backtracking is not only noticeable, but it actively takes away from the experience in my opinion. The only other major gripe I can come up with is just the incredibly weird armor/equip load system and the weapon upgrading. Starting with the armor and equip load, it's like actually bullshit in this game. I appreciate that item weight only matters when you actually equip the item, meaning you can have any number of items in your inventory, but even still, the equip load is fucking brutal. For those unaware, equipping too much weight will cause your equip load to increase, which will eventually slow down your movement and rolling to ridiculous levels. This would be fine if the threshold for this equip load was anywhere within reason. If you equip anything except for a loincloth and a fucking frying pan, your character will immediately roll around like that motherfucker Gusteau. Not to mention, it isn't even worth it because armor is almost worthless in this game. Unless you're willing to completely throw movement out the window and go out into battle like a fucking rock, armor does next to nothing. In fact, I was only able to beat Ornstein and Smough after I took off my armor. In what other game can you say that? I mean, it's just a really strange system that doesn't work like any normal person would want it to. Moving on to the weapon upgrading system, it's complete dog shit. Upgrading literally anything in this game is a complete mess, with like 60 different upgrade materials, and the sheer amount of resources you have to pump into upgrading something, it actively discourages the player from experimenting and trying new things, which is terrible for a game like this. I mean, the entire playthrough I used only 4 weapons, and that's being generous. I started with some basic sword, switched to the Zweihander for half the run, used the Golem Axe for the other half, and then used the Black Knight Great Axe for literally just the last boss fight. Elden Ring does this so much better by having far fewer upgrade materials and overall making them easier to come by, therefore decreasing the potential resource loss if you end up investing in a bad build. This makes the player actively go out and experiment with new builds and weapons. Unfortunately in Dark Souls, however, that is simply not the case. Now, I know that it seems as though I had more bad to say than good, but that simply isn't true. I had such a good time with this game, and I ended up loving it so much that the couple of truly huge issues it does have really stand out and infuriate me. I wish this game were perfect, but the perfect game does not exist. Between the setting, to the gameplay, to the lore, to the characters, to the level design, to the bosses, to the soundtrack, and everything in between, Dark Souls is a true classic. Even playing Elden Ring couldn't prepare me for what I found here. And while as a whole I would say Elden Ring is a better game, Dark Souls feels like FromSoft's magnum opus, their most impressive work of art. And even being a relative outsider of this franchise, for my money, this is one of the best games I've ever played. Anyways, thank you all so very much for watching, and don't you dare go hollow, my friends.